Welcome to Insider's Playbook, the podcast for senior tennis players who still compete in tournaments and leagues. I'm Mike Rogers, a senior player myself, looking to go deep in draws and dreaming of one day winning that elusive gold ball. As we get older, we realize that winning isn't just about how hard we hit the ball, but where we position ourselves to take away our opponent's best options. Whether you're sticking with a traditional setup or mixing in the I formation or Australian, your choice of formation can be the difference between controlling the net or being left out of position. Joining me to discuss the best formation choices for aging players is Will Boucek. Will is the founder of Tennis Tribe and also the host of the Doubles Only podcast. And he has experience as a doubles strategy analyst supporting ATP and WTA top 10 teams at all 4 Grand Slams and the Olympics. Will, it's great to have you on Insider's Playbook.
Mike, thanks for having me. I love the intro there. That's really thoughtful and well laid out.
Thank you. I put some effort into it, but you make it easy because you have a lot of experience to go off of. But let me ask you this. Most senior players like myself grew up just playing a traditional formation on serve and return and, one up, one back. And when you're coaching older players, how do you suggest when to change up their formations and which ones may work best for their games?
Yeah, I mean, formations are just, for a lot of players, it's really an untapped gold mine almost. In certain matches, if you only use regular formation, you're 100% losing some matches that you should be winning. Like there's no doubt in my mind, because there are some returners that struggle a lot against I and Australian formations. So how I think about this for senior players, generally they're going to favor Australian over I formation. So with I formation, that net player has to get a lot lower. They have to be quick to get up and explode. It's hard for me. I'm only 36, and it's hard for me sometimes to get down into that I formation position. So
maybe
I imagine
if I got new knees, that would help.
Yeah, exactly. So I imagine, when I'm playing 40 plus, it's going to be even harder. So Australian is typically what I recommend for senior players, and all you're doing in that situation is giving them a different look. You're forcing them to hit a return against a formation that they're not used to hitting. So one good way to think about this is if you're playing the same exact style as everyone else, then you have to be a better tennis player. You have to have better technique. You have to be more athletic. You have to be faster. You have to be in better shape. You just have to hit a better ball. But if none of those things are true, then you need to change something else. And formations are a great thing to change, to force them to play a game that they're uncomfortable with.
What about on the other side of the net? And you're facing somebody that's maybe going into Australian. Now you got to think about that because you don't face that often as well.
Right. So as the returner, you're so used to hitting cross-court returns. So let's take the ad court, for example. A lot of players in the ad court like their backhand better because we're told that the ad side is the backhand side, which is fine. So those players have gotten very good over the years at returning that backhand cross court because not a lot of net players are poaching a bunch. They don't need to return down the line very much. If they have a solid backhand cross court return, then they're a very good ad court returner at most USTA levels. So if you switch to Australian formation and all of a sudden they're hitting that backhand down the line, there are certain players who are going to struggle with it because they're not used to it, right? 95, 99% of the teams they face are using regular. So they've got thousands and thousands and thousands of reps hitting that backhand cross court. And now all of a sudden they have to hit it down the line and they may only have 100 reps hitting it down the line. Which one do you think is going to be a stronger shot for them?
Right. What about maybe if you're returning it, popping it up cross court?
Yeah, so that's a good kind of counter move to the Australian formation. So in Australian, that net player is a little bit more kind of towards the middle, but on the same side as the server. And basically, if you're hitting that lob cross-court return, you're forcing the serve team back into regular formation. So when I'm returning, if I see Australian formation, they're basically telling me they don't want to get into a cross-court rally with me. They're
Right.
telling me they want to take away my cross-court return. And I may not want to hit a down the line return. So I'll just lob it cross court. And that way I can still go cross court, which is a high percentage shot, but I'm avoiding the net player. So it's probably the best counter move to the Australian formation. But you have to have a decent lob. And if the opponent has a very good first serve, it can be a difficult ball to hit, especially if that net player is quick to get back and has a pretty good overhead as well.
So if I'm going back to the service side, if I'm serving for that I formation, and would it be better maybe sometimes to just go down the tee on that, serve it down the tee and force that guy if he's a righty to hit a forehand and maybe
Yeah.
try to go for that line, but
Yeah, so this is something you really talked about this well in your intro. Actually, is I forgot how you phrased it, but you talked about studying the opponents or making the opponents uncomfortable, um, and that is what this all comes down to, right? Like if somebody is using the lob effectively to negate my Australian formation, they're probably using it either off the backhand or the forehand wing, and you have to figure out which one are they not able to hit that lob as effectively with. So it might be that they're easily able to hit that backhand from the ad court, lobbing it cross court, but the forehand down the tee, they struggle to lob that one. So instead, those lobs end up short, and my net player ends up with an overhead. So it's all these kind of adjustments and counter adjustments, but the muscle you have to train and the thing you have to improve upon is your ability to study the opponents and find those weaknesses, find those holes in their game, and then you can exploit them from there. And that's true of senior tennis. It's true of ATP and WTA tennis. So it's a very important muscle to train, like I said, that I think club players don't understand how important it is because we're all out on the tennis court just so focused on ourselves and wanting ourselves to play good when really you're going to have more success trying to get your opponents to play bad.
and I think, a hard part is too, is if you're playing leagues, especially, not necessarily tournaments because you probably have the same partner, but with leagues, you're going from partner to partner to partner, and so you don't have a
Hmm.
chance really to get comfortable, um,
Yeah.
knowing not only knowing what the opponent's gonna do, but what your partner's gonna do or what his strengths are.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's something you have to discuss with your partner if you're going to start to use formations. Typically, what I will have teams do is communicate by talking to discuss their formations, and I'd like them to talk about it before the match.
Right.
So, if you're somebody who likes to use I or Australian formation and you haven't done it with somebody you're about to play with, or maybe you have a new partner, talk about it before the match and say, "Hey, I like to do these formations. Are you open to running it?" And if
Mhm.
you do it before the match, they'll probably say yes, right? If you phrase it like I just said, are you open to running it or open to trying this? Um, and because you talked about it before the match, you're going to have a plan and you'll kind of be able to answer any questions that they have about it as well. They might say, I've never done it before. Like, where am I supposed to stand? And you can kind of explain it to them and talk them through how that works.
So when you're serving deuce and the score is 4-5, that's probably not the best time to, start talking about the
Well, yeah, I mean, in the middle of a match is not a good time to introduce new concepts. And if you're
Right.
playing with a new partner, it's not a good idea to wait until regular formation isn't working to introduce I or Australian formation. If you know it is going to be a plan B or plan C for you, then you should talk to them about it before the match. Hey, I'm totally fine running a regular formation, but there's certain situations where sometimes I like to run Australian. Are you comfortable with that? Is that something you've done before? And then asking them, what are their strengths and weaknesses at the net and the baseline as well are really
Yeah.
important. So a lot of teams who like their forehands better, I'll have them run Australian formation in the ad court because it's a great way to expose your forehands and hide your backhands.
Right,
That's
right,
especially true of a net player, right? So the net player, if they don't like their backhand volley, they don't have to hit backhand volleys if they're right-handed running Australian formation to the ad side, or they don't have to hit as many backhand volleys. So
right.
they're able to help their partner out a lot more with that. So it's 100% a great tactic to use at every level of the game, really.
Are there certain, points in the game, certain scores that, you should run a different formation or just when you want to switch things up?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on the level and the matchup. So if, for example, if I'm doing scouting for an ATP client, right? Their weaknesses aren't that weak, right? So a good example is the forehand return. Okay, so the forehand return for a lot of ATP players is a lot more deadly when it goes in, but it misses a lot more too. So we can get a lot of errors, but if they make it, we're in trouble as the serve team. So what I might tell them is, let's go there early at love all. We're up 15 love or up 30-15. But if it's 30-40 and we're serving at 4-5 and it's set point, break point for them, I might not want to risk the forehand,
Mm,
because on the
right.
50% chance they make it in the court, they
Mhm.
probably win that point now. We're in trouble. So that's not the time I want to kind of gamble. So with Australian formation, let's say we're running it to the ad court, you're going to give up more return winners down the line. It's just how it's going to go. But you might win more points overall. So if you're mixing in Australian and then back to regular and then Australian and then back to regular, if you find that they are hitting errors but also hitting winners down the line, it might not be a good idea to run the Australian if you're down break point or if you're, at a deuce game and it's a really big point.
Okay. Makes sense. What about on the receiving side, formations that they can use, maybe two back or, what's really a good way to oppose these guys or give these guys a different look that's serving in an Australian or something like that?
Yeah, so two back is a great defensive formation. So I
Uh,
actually just did a webinar for my Tennis Tribe members this past week on the two back formation, and it can be used returning or serving, actually. That's something a lot of people don't think about. So to start with returning, it's really effective against I formation or any time the server's partner is a very big threat. So if your partner's not able to get the return past the server's partner, then you just back up to the baseline and you're able to defend a bit better. Another great time to do that is if you have a clear designation. So, Mike, let's say you and I are playing together, and let's say you're the baseline player and I'm the net player. On my return points, I might pull you back to the baseline and we might play two back. I'll hit my return and then try to get forward to the net. And even though I was returning, I'm able to get to the net where I'm more comfortable. And then you're hanging out back at the baseline where you can dictate and try to set me up. So then we're able to get into kind of a better situation, especially in senior doubles. It's just really hard to cover that lob with both players up at the net. We're
right,
not
right.
as quick. We're not as quick to get back for the overhead. The lobs can be just more effective. So we really do kind of have to play one up, one back. But you can start with two back and then get somebody forward just like that.
Just
And
communicate
then
who's going to maybe go up first and, you know.
Yeah, so we'd talk about this again before the match. Like I would want to have a game plan for you with you. So um, we can just do it right now. So like, Mike, do you prefer the net or the baseline?
I like the baseline, but I can play the net as well, so I'm not afraid to be at the net.
Okay, so you like both.
Yeah.
So I prefer the net. So I
Mm,
would rather be at the net. I haven't been playing much tennis recently, so my baseline game is not going to be very good.
uh,
But I can generate errors at the net, and my net game's a bit more solid. So what we would do if we stepped out there is on my return points, I would say, I want your help at the baseline so that I can return and volley and come
Right.
forward. So that's a conversation that should be had before the match starts, similar to running Australian formation.
Okay. And then also before the points.
Yeah,
Just
100%.
just to kind of remind ourselves because we tend to forget things at our age. So
Yeah, and you have to kind of recognize what's going on in the match, right? Like
yeah.
if the return is getting past the server's partner every time and the server is floating that next ball high through the middle, I probably don't want you back at the baseline, right? I'd rather you be up there to go get that ball.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but if that server's partner is a big threat, I can't get the ball by them, then I definitely want you back by me. And it might be different for first serve versus second serve, and the game score in certain situations. Um, and then we might also do that on serves too. So my serve is not a big strength of my game. So if I miss my first serve and the opponents are ripping returns at you or back at me and we're on defense, I could pull you back to the baseline after I miss my first serve.
Right.
And then I
Okay.
could serve and get to the net and you could again dictate from the baseline. So that's something that's used a bit less often, but even WTA teams do that. If you watch Sarah Irani and Jasmine Paolini, they do it really well. Shea Suwei does it really well. So even on second serves in certain situations, you can play two back.
Fantastic. Are there any other formations that maybe I've missed or that we should touch upon?
No, I mean, Australian, and regular are the three serving. For seniors, Australian's probably the easiest to run or easier than and you've got to experiment with it. I'd encourage people to set up a practice match and try to run Australian formation on every single first serve and just see how it goes. The goal of this practice match isn't to win, it's to get comfortable with Australian formation. And I guarantee
Right.
you'll learn a lot about where to stand, how to position yourself, how to move after the serve, all of these different things. So you've really got to just be experimenting, study the opponents, and know over time which formations are going to be best for which situations.
So interesting because you just mentioned where to stand. Normally because there's not a lot of differences there between I and Australian. I mean, Australian, you're maybe inside the line, and you're
Yeah.
on the line.
Yeah. So, Australian, so let's take serving to the deuce court. So regular, the server's partner's in the middle of the box. The server is going to be between the center service mark and the singles line, usually a little closer to the singles line. Some
Okay.
servers will go all the way to the doubles alley. Um, I don't have a strong opinion on that, but it'll be somewhere in there.
Right.
I formation, the server is going to shift all the way next to the center service mark. So they're going to be much closer to the middle of the court. So they do have to be to the right of that service mark,
Right.
since they're serving to the deuce court, but they'll be just a step to the right of it. So really close to it. The server's partner in I formation, they'll have maybe their right foot, and there's variations. Some teams will be right on the line, some teams will be a little bit left of the line. The way I've been teaching it more recently is your right foot will be just inside, just to the left of the center line. So that's it seems like that's what a lot of the best teams do. And then Australian, the server's partner or the server doesn't move from I
Right.
formation, so they're still close to the middle. And the server's partner will shift even further to the right. So they're going to go just to the right of the center service line. So they're basically in front of the server. So if the server just sprinted towards the net, they would run into their partner.
Right.
And in that scenario, they're covering the cross court return. So they're covering that net strap. In both I and Australian formation, you should be able to take maybe one step and then reach forward with your racket and touch the net strap. So that's kind of a good rule of thumb for your positioning up there.
And then you have to decide whether the person up at the net is going to poach or not poach, even
Yeah,
in that
there's
same formation,
plays.
right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's plays you can run, and you've followed my stuff for a while, so you know a lot of this stuff already, but there's different plays you can run out of regular formation. I formation, generally, you're just going left or right as the net player,
Right.
which means really you're covering down the line or cross.
Mm.
And then out of Australian, it's a little bit harder, but you can call poaches. And fakes are great too. I mean, the point is to really disrupt the rhythm of the returner. One phrase I've used more recently is if the returner is not attempting down the line returns, then the server's partner is not doing their job. And you can do that with play calls or formations. And with each formation, the returner should be trying different returns because you don't want them to get into a rhythm. You don't want to
Right.
give them the same thing every time.
Cool. Well, this is great information. I wish I could go out there and play some doubles now.
It's a
Unfortunately,
lot of fun.
with that
Yeah,
surgery, it's holding me back a little bit. But
yeah, it's a
uh,
lot of fun. I mean, you know, I'll go back to the beginning. Like, if you're playing the same style as everybody else, then you have to like out tennis them, out athlete them. And it's a lot of fun to get into the strategy side of it and try to beat teams who would probably beat you in singles, but just
right,
outsmart them. And it's really, I don't know, it's kind of satisfying and fun to kind of experiment on the court. So I would encourage people to try all this stuff out and just expand your comfort zone. It's not going to feel comfortable the first time you try it, but when you're learning a new skill, it's not supposed to feel comfortable.
right. Yeah. When I get uncomfortable, and then we can go play those 18 plus teams, our
Yeah.
55 plus team or 65 plus team, and outsmart
Oh,
them and
exactly.
feel real good about it.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, we all know this strategy guru at our local facility or club who's in the clinics, and they beat all the 18 plus players, and they're maybe in their 60s, and they're just a lot smarter and a lot more steady and solid. So
That-
it's a fun way to play.
That's it. And then the 18 plus guys don't realize they just keep hitting it back to the guys. So,
Yeah, and keep missing too.
yeah, that or hitting it long. Well, it, I'd love to, let people know how to get in touch with you about your podcast or your Tennis Tribe website. Can you give us
Yeah.
a little bit more information about that?
Yeah, so thetennistribe.com is the website. They can find everything there. I've got some free cheat sheets and doubles guides and things like that that people can sign up for. I've got a 40 plus double strategy cheat sheet as well that I'll send you. You can link to that in the show notes. And then if you're more of an audible learner or audio learner, the Doubles Only Tennis Podcast is on all the major podcast players. Um, and I'm also on Instagram. So if you're more of a visual learner, I do a lot of video lessons, Instagram reels as well. So you can learn in all the different mediums through there.
Fantastic. Well, and just on a personal note, I'll tell people because you didn't mention that you also have a membership where you get a little bit extra over what you share in your podcasts and everything. So I would highly recommend that as well. Well,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
great,
the
great
membership's a
having you
lot of
on the
fun.
show today. I greatly appreciate it and look forward to talking with you again.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.